Welcome to LifeTalk Now. I'm Mark Crutcher.
And I'm Renee Hobbs. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Lots of things going on, Renee.
Yes.
Last night, of course, the United States launched an attack against Syria. And I think first thing that people need to understand about that situation is it is a direct result of the cowardice that was shown by Barack Obama when he supposedly drew this red line in Syria and said, if you do this, we're going to do something. They did it, and he didn't do anything.
Well, yeah, because he was afraid of the retaliation that was going to happen.
And he's afraid of everything.
Everything, yeah.
And this is the problem when you have cowards in positions of power.
Yeah.
And you know, I always think about something that I've talked to you about before here, and we've talked about on our regular Life Talk show. It's very interesting when you go and look at Revelation, which is the part of the Bible nobody wants to talk about because it scares everybody to death. But when you look at Revelation, the first group that went into the lake of fire was not murderers, it wasn't thieves, it wasn't cowards, it wasn't rapists. I mean, it wasn't burglars, it was cowards.
Right.
Cowards were the first people in, right? God knew exactly the danger of cowardice. And no matter what you think about what Trump did last night, you can't deny that it was a direct result of Barack Obama's cowardice. This was a godless, cowardly Marxist, and we're still going to be paying the price for that for many, many years. Now, you say, well, why are we talking about this on a basically pro-life show? There's a direct pro-life connection here. And it kind of goes to, you know, what I've talked with you about many times, which is something you had a hard time dealing with when you first came here, is that you can almost tie abortion to everything that happens in the world today, and you can.
Yeah, you can.
And this is a good example of it. Barack Obama, Donald Trump justified this attack partially on his just human response to the gassing of all these people, and especially the children.
Yeah, the pictures, the visual images that he saw just horrified him.
Well, who wouldn't they horrify?
Exactly. When you see women, men, children, babies.
These little babies sitting there shaking, and I don't know, did you see any of the video?
I did, yeah. I saw them carrying off a little girl that had died, and two little babies that they threw up on a platform that they were spraying down with water and
trying to get that sarin gas
off of them.
What kind of human being wouldn't be impacted by that?
Right.
I'm going to tell you who the human being that wouldn't be impacted by that.
Yeah.
Again, Barack Obama. If he can't be impacted by what goes on in American abortion clinics to these unborn babies, because let me tell you something, as horrific as that stuff is in Syria that was being done, and as much as Assad ought to be held accountable for this, he's a war criminal, as much as they ought to be held accountable for it, I'm going to tell you something. If you see what goes on inside American abortion clinics, that's no worse.
You would be horrified. We would all be horrified. The abortion wouldn't even be.
Right. But the media will not show that. But they'll show those poor kids in Syria, which they should. Right. But they also ought to show what's going on inside American abortion clinics. We've got no right to point our finger at anybody and talk about them being despots or committing these horrible crimes against humanity, when 3,000 babies today, this is early in the morning on a Friday, 3,000 babies are going to be in dumpsters and ground up and going into landfills that are alive as you and I speak right now.
Right.
They're going to be in landfills tonight.
They will be.
And so when we say who wouldn't be horrified by all that, I'm going to tell you Barack Obama wouldn't be horrified by it. And if Barack Obama was president right now, he'd be doing the old, well, whatever.
Right, and this is
that he did for 8 years.
Right.
And if somebody said, well, this is more Islamic terrorism or whatever, he'd be defending the Islamic terrorist. And so don't tell me that if he can't care, if these people cannot care about the unborn and what they go through in these abortion mills, don't tell me they care about this. That person's a liar who says that.
I think it was, 87?
What's that?
People that died in Syria.
I don't know. I don't know if the final numbers are in.
Not the exact numbers.
But it's going to be nowhere near the 3,000 babies that are going to be butchered today.
That's right, yeah.
In perfectly legal abortion clinics that Barack Obama says you and I ought to pay for.
Yeah.
So
right, and it's not that we're trying to discount what happened over there,
absolutely
but,
not.
I mean, that was a horrible thing.
It is horrible. But again, if you just compare it to abortion,
Right.
and you know, they say, well, they're using chemicals on these babies. We're using chemicals on babies right here.
Yes, we are.
Right?
Yes, we are.
RU46 is a chemical.
Right.
These other chemicals that we're using. So sometimes we rip these babies apart limb from limb, and sometimes we kill them chemically.
That's right.
But 3,000 of them are going to meet their fate today.
Yeah.
And again on Monday, and again on Tuesday, and again on Wednesday, at least 3,000 each day until we put an end to this. And so let's put things in perspective as we look at things like what went on in Syria. And just so people understand, you and I talked about it before we came back here today. We don't both totally support what
Trump has done.
What Trump has done.
Absolutely.
He had no choice.
Right.
He had no choice. Barack Obama put the United States in this position through
Right.
his cowardice.
Yeah.
And so now here we are, and we've got to do basically what is a mop-up operation.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what this is. So we support what President Trump has done, but let's also, again, keep it in perspective with what we're doing in this country every day.
Yeah.
The other thing is, Gorsuch is going to be on the Supreme Court.
Yes.
The Republicans got a little bit of spine here. Well, I don't know where that came from, but they got a little spine and exercised the nuclear option, which, by the way, was created by the Democrats, and they were told
It bit them, didn't it?
it'd come back and, yeah. Well, we won't say where it bit them, but it bit them.
Yeah.
But anyway, they created this situation. Chuck Schumer created this situation, and now he's going to try to shift blame over onto the Republicans. But the fact is, they created it. One of the things, Renee, that you and I, again, have talked about this many times. Everybody, we can't know what Gorsuch is going to be like. We don't know that.
No, we don't. We don't have a clue.
And there's some troubling things.
We haven't. I think we may have an idea because of
His church.
his church and.
Yeah, we don't know what he's going to do, but he does go to a radically pro-abortion church. The minister of that church is a woman who attended the Women's March in D.C. and said it was one of the greatest experiences of her life or something like that. The church that he belongs to in Colorado is a member of the Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice. And, you know, I know that he could be outside the teaching of his church on that issue. I know that's possible. That's what we're counting on.
That's right. Yeah.
But we don't know.
Right.
But the thing that has always bothered me about this is that everyone always says the Supreme Court, when you put somebody on the Supreme Court, it's unpredictable what they're going to do. That is only true about the people that are put on the Supreme Court by Republicans. When Democrats put somebody on the Supreme Court, you know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to be godless, Marxist, and that's going to be their political agenda, and that's what they're going to advance. You show me one example. And let's say go back 50 years, go 60 years. Eisenhower was president and put people on the Supreme Court. And he later in his life said the biggest mistakes he ever made while he was in office were sitting on the Supreme Court. Nixon did it. Bush did it. Put people on there that we could not count on.
Well, I mean, I guess the Republicans just don't have a litmus test,
They don't.
basically, for the Supreme Court nominees.
They don't have any standards.
Right.
Whereas you can't show me over the last 40 or 50 years a person put on the Supreme Court by a Democrat who then later stabbed the Democrats in the back. It doesn't happen. There may be
They're
some
loyal.
small cases
Right.
where they voted a way that the Democrats wouldn't like. But on the major cases, they fall in lockstep because they're vetted up front. When
What their beliefs are on certain issues.
right,
Yep.
when Obama appointed Sotomayor or whoever he appointed, I guarantee he sat down with her
Right.
and he looked at her history and said, now, you've always been a supporter of reproductive rights and abortion and so forth. I want to make sure, though, that I have a commitment from you that you will continue to that on the Supreme Court. I will guarantee you 100%. He'd lie about it and say that never happened, and so would she. But I guarantee you that happens because the Democrats don't like unpredictability. They put people on there they know they can count on.
Right.
They know how they're going to vote. This unpredictable nature of the Supreme Court only applies to justices that are put on there by Republicans. they're the only ones that are unpredictable, because the Republicans, like you were saying, they don't have standards that they apply. They don't have a litmus test. You know, and they'll even say we don't have litmus test. But I guarantee you they do. And if you don't think they have litmus tests, let me ask you this question. Let's say that a person was nominated for the Supreme Court that was totally 100% qualified. And even the Democrats said, yeah, we can't vote against this guy. He's totally 100% qualified. But it's revealed during his investigation or during his hearings that he's a member of the Klan. Would that keep him off?
Yeah, I would hope so.
You would bet it would.
Yeah.
So that would be a litmus test. So when these people say we don't have litmus test, what they're saying is the unborn child is not a litmus test for us. We're not going to go to that point.
Right.
But the Democrats do.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Democrats' point is, if you don't kill them by the millions, you're not getting on the Supreme Court.
Yep.
So they have a litmus test, and it includes abortion. The Republicans don't have a litmus test that includes abortion. That's the distinction. Right. That's why our guys are always unpredictable. Right. So we're rolling the dice. Gorsuch is going to be confirmed. Matter of fact, just about the time we're doing this, right now, as we're doing this segment, he's being confirmed. But we're just going to have to wait and see. We don't know.
We will
anyway,
see.
We're out of time.
Yep. And if you have any comments or questions, go ahead and post it down below. And we also have a new donate button as well. And you can just click on the button, and it's a step-by-step process. And if you're on YouTube, just follow the link below. And thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Until next time, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops.